In this video, I want to talk to you about something I wish I'd known a lot sooner. If you watched any of my videos recently, you will hear me talking a lot more about energy and a lot more about how building your coaching business, if you are a coach or if you want to be a coach, isn't just as simple as picking a niche, getting certified. There's a lot more to it than that. Tony Robbins says, success is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. And one of the things I really wish I'd known sooner, I've spoke about this in a previous video, is, Tony Robbins talks about this thing called the 6 human needs. And I recognized in my life, one of the biggest blind spots I've had is a need for validation and approval on the outside to make me feel enough. And what's really interesting about this is that when your energy is putting out this kind of frequency that you're not enough, the things that you want in your life will be harder to obtain. The self-love that you desire will feel further and further away. You'll constantly find yourself getting into relationships where people are playing a version of a mother or a father figure. Maybe, if you have this feeling of invalidation or needing approval, often that stems back to one or more of your parents didn't give you the validation and the approval that you felt you should have had. Generally, that's where it stems from, right? A lot of people that even have healthy childhoods still having this as an issue. But generally, it's more in people that have one or more parent either absent or emotionally unavailable, right? So for me, it was dad was absent, mum was emotionally unavailable. Now, my mum was an amazing provider and protector, but she was emotionally unavailable because her father was and her mum wasn't there, and so on and so forth, right? Bore you with the details if you've heard this story before. But the point being is that when you are seeking external validation, like at an unconscious level, like you'll know you're seeking it because if somebody gives you praise, you take it on and it's like a drug to the ego, right? Like if somebody tells you something great about you and you feel like if you had let's say you had a self-esteem dial, right, in your chest, and you felt it change when somebody says, oh my God, like that thing you did was amazing. Like if you feel that change, like significant change, that's probably an indicator that you have a high attachment to external validation and approval. And the problem with that, fundamentally, with external validation and approval, the problem with it is it can and invariably does go away, right? Because the person that gives you that praise, if they sense that that's what you needed and you wanted, weirdly, this is what tends to happen. As I've sought the validation and the approval, I have actually got the opposite. So like when I wanted my mum to tell me like with words that she loved me, she didn't. When I stopped wanting and needing that because I was telling it to myself, all of a sudden she started saying it. When I stopped needing my mum to tell me she was proud of me, I'm so proud of you, Miles, all of a sudden she started saying it, right? So the key to high self-worth, high self-esteem is you've got to start validating yourself. You've got to start internally validating yourself. And here's a really funny thing, right? This is a hilarious story for me personally because I used to have this thing where being a big fan of Tony Robbins, like my dream would be one day Tony is going to pick me out in an audience and he's going to tell me, Miles, you're amazing. You're enough. Just go for it. And he was going to give me all the praise and the validation that I ever wanted and needed from my parents that I didn't get. And all of a sudden I'm going to be freed from this need from validation, and Tony Robbins is going to validate me, and it's going to be like waving a magic wand, and all of a sudden I'm going to have bulletproof self-esteem, like a Conor McGregor. I hallucinate, he's got bulletproof self-esteem, and I'm going to just be like, poof, I'm enough, and I'm just going to go out there and just take over the world, right? And then funny thing happened is a few years ago, I was attending a business mastery with Tony Robbins, and it was on Zoom, but there was the opportunity to kind of raise your hand and get on and ask a question, right? He was interviewing a guy that he'd founded Shazam. You remember that music app where you put your phone to a song in a kebab shop and it tells you what the song is? Well, this guy, Chris Barton, had founded Shazam. Great guy, right? And anyway, when I press the button, the raise the hand on Zoom to ask this question, like I got unmuted. It said like, the host has unmuted you. And I was like, oh my God, this is my moment, right? And I remember I said, Tony, before I asked Chris the question, I just want to say, you've changed my life. And then I kind of waffled a little bit and my voice was all like, oh Tony, oh, you're amazing. Like he was a god and all this kind of stuff, right? And then Tony says, thanks for the compliment. I really appreciate it, but I didn't change your life. You did. And it was really, really interesting because it goes back to this thing I'm saying, which is like, if you don't validate yourself for all the work you've done on yourself, then you may get the ideal person that you've always dreamed of tell you you're enough. But if you're not validating yourself, you'll still never feel enough. Because if I can have my mom tell me, and actually inadvertently now, I now have a relationship with my dad and he likes my videos and he comments on them. He's really supportive at a distance, right? We don't really see each other, but he's super supportive, which is really interesting because I didn't need it, but it's there, right? You get that, and then you get like, for me, it was like the dream, like Tony Robbins. I had this dream and then it became true. And I still didn't feel great. I did momentarily, my ego felt great, but then it wore off, right? And I was like, interesting. And it just further proof that external validation is never enough. It has to be internal. It has to be from the inside out. It can't be from the outside in, because it can go away. And ultimately, it will never fully, truly transform your soul until you give it to yourself. And I think one of the best ways to give it to yourself is through things like meditation. Highly recommend if you're not a regular meditator. Meditation has transformed my life. Reconnecting to faith. I am a Christian. Whether you're a spiritual person, a religious person or not, meditation's been great for me. Just speaking out loud, like to the universe, maybe if you're a believer in that, or just speaking out loud, or just journaling, writing down what you're proud of about yourself is in of itself a really good way for you to start to validate yourself. Spending less time on social media, because the ego loves to just compete and compare. It's not a soul thing, it's just an ego thing. So it's not like something that you can really prevent. It's kind of just, social media has kind of almost been designed to suck us into that, which is sad really, because it has a beautiful intention and purpose, I think, at its core, which is to connect people. But actually it's created, I think, more disentanglement. Is that the right word? That's not the right word. It's created more of a fractured society than a collective society, I think, social media. But anyway, yeah, meditation, journaling what you're proud of, some really key things I think that are really important. And look, it's not an overnight thing. It's like exercise. You don't get the six-pack abs and the body of your dreams by going to the gym once. You've got to do it over and over and over again. You've got to make it a habit. But over time, you'll probably find that you'll just do things and afterwards you'll be like, oh, I'm really proud of that. And then you'll, be feeling better about yourself and less needing approval and praise. And then you'll probably find, if you're aware and you're conscious, that people start to praise you, but you'll not need it, right? And that's the key. And I think people energetically can sense that when you need it, they don't give it. And I think it's the universe trying to teach you a lesson that, external validation and approval and praise is just spiritually not what the soul needs. The inner child needs you to nurture it itself. It doesn't actually need a parent to do it. It needs you to do it, so be the parent to your own inner child. And that will heal any parts of you that need to be healed. So that's it for today's video. Have a good rest of your day and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Peace out.